May on page 42. I just wondered if it might be possible to reconsider or explain the low impact negative risk on gender reassignment in the light of the Supreme Court judgment. I was extremely grateful to receive Jo Yellen's email, and I thought that was excellent, and I did respond with a positive thank you so much for saying that. But I think in terms of what we have in writing, I wonder if it's worth just reconsidering the risk assessment for those undergoing gender reassignment following the Supreme Court judgment. I absolutely agree that what you've done was perfectly acceptable prior to that, but I think even though we know the law hasn't changed per se, people's perceptions have. So I wondered if you might reconsider the risk.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Any other opposition? No. So we've got a few questions there. Joe, about the non-binary, 2 questions for Councillor Vizard, the training from Councillor Moore, and the issue of the risk assessment from Councillor Hughes. If you're in a position to answer those questions, would be helpful.
Thank you, Chair. So the first thing to say, Councillor Vizard, in terms of the 50-50 split, we can provide the detail, but generally the variation is seen most starkly in our frontline manual-based workforce, where you would see a male ratio higher than the average across the council. So that's primarily where the difference lies, and we can certainly provide that detail by service if members would like to see it. In terms of the issue about iTrent, Lydia and the team have been doing a very detailed piece of work that links both into the mini peer review on equalities, diversity and inclusion recommendations and the external independent review on our HR practices. And so we have 2 improvement plans. One is our HR improvement plan, and in that we've undertaken with the supplier of our IT system, iTrent, a review of its functionality across all of its functions. And that's highlighted for us that we have modules within our system that we haven't fully understood and utilised. And we are now in the process of engaging an expert in iTrent to come and work with Lydia and the team to upgrade the use of iTrent. In that process, we will be establishing whether or not we are able to have another option for staff to be able to utilise in terms of another option in relation to gender and sex. So that's where we are. We have run 2 campaigns encouraging staff to provide more information about themselves, and they have been very successful. So we have a very low starting base in terms of being able to identify any issues within our staff group, and we're really pleased with the result, and Lydia will be repeating that campaign to encourage staff to share personal details, and we're just about to launch an equalities, diversity and inclusion training programme, and the Chief Exec has done an introduction in our video for the introductory section, which highlights why it's important for us as an organisation for staff to feel that they can share that information with us, and we can start to establish how well we represent the community that we serve, and where there are areas that we don't, what actions we might take. So an example might be if we felt that our workforce was not representative of some of our local community, then we might look at our recruitment practices, for example, to see how we could redesign those to make them more attractive to people with particular characteristics. So it's a really great question. It's a work in progress. Thank you for that. The other question you asked was about feedback from staff in terms of not being able to choose another option. We haven't had any specific feedback, but that partly might be because we're not able to ask them. So, but we have had feedback from staff who've given us constructive feedback about some of the things that we could do differently. And on top of that, Lydia and the team have just launched a new staff survey where we're asking a range of questions for staff about health and wellbeing, and critically, whether there are any additional staff support groups that they would like us to establish around health and welfare or any particular issue. And within our survey, that's a free text box. So we're really hoping that if there are any members of staff who feel they need particular support, perhaps in relation to this issue, that they will be able to complete that in the survey. So thank you. The question in relation to Councillor Moore, thank you for your question. Within the Equalities, Diversity and Inclusion Training Plan, there are modules for members, and we will be positively encouraging members to participate in that training. And part of that will be to, through committee services, identify what are the most effective ways of providing that training so that it is more accessible to members. So thank you for your question. In relation to Councillor Hughes' question, you do make a good point, and I think with respect to the chair and portfolio holder, I'd like to go away and reflect on that ask with Lydia tomorrow, and we'll come back to you because I do think you're right. It is probably worth us restating the statement that we made to staff and making sure that's really explicit in the equality impact assessment. So if that's acceptable to the chair, that's what we'd like to do, and let committee services have a revised equalities impact statement.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I think it's important that we do that. And on the training for members in particular, I do know, and I've done most of it, if not all, well, I know I've done all the required ones in relation to the online SSS, is it, the online ones, which I found very interactive, very helpful, and it don't let you go through until you've answered the questions, to be quite honest, which can be a bit annoying. But actually, the more times you actually get it wrong, the better it is, because it reinforces things with you. I know that sounds daft, doesn't it? But it actually reinforces. I got one right first time, and then I couldn't remember it afterwards because I got it right first. Do you know what I mean? But so I like that sort of training, and I think that's important that we do that. Okay, thank you very much for the training and all that sort of stuff. On that non-binary thing, is there an opportunity for members of staff, if they wanted to indicate that they could, in through another way? Do you understand what I mean? If not, because it's how the system is set up, can they indicate?
Yes, they can. In terms of the surveys that we do, we still ask people those questions around their personal information. So we do encourage people to provide us with that information. We certainly encourage, in terms of the training and development for line managers, to be opening up conversations with members of staff. There's definitely more that we can do, and what we're hoping is that we will be able to include that as an option within iTrain. If not, we will look at alternative ways of ensuring that we can probably identify as appropriate and engage with staff. Hopefully the staff survey, again, is another way by which people can provide information to us.
Okay, thank you, Joe. And as I've said to many people who listen, from my own point of view, I regard myself as on a bit of a journey with all of this, understanding it. I'm desperate to want to understand it, and I think some generations find it harder than others. About positively understanding it and not dismissing it is very, very important. So we've got this recommendation here, and it recommends that council approves it. It'll go to full council, and whether whipped or not, I feel sure people will vote accordingly.
Sorry, Chair.
I'll allow you a little bit of on your first meeting, Councillor.
Thank you. Well, I'm probably going to give myself an excuse now. So I just, apologies if I've missed this, but I just wondered if there was any work towards sort of quality in the workplace for women that are suffering with perimenopausal or menopausal symptoms, and support for those people, and sort of questions around that and what they needed. Thank you.
Lydia or Joe?
No, I'll answer. So yes, we have a menopause policy that provides advice and guidance on to managers on support for women and their partners in relation to menopause. And one of the health and wellbeing support groups the staff told us they wanted to the previous staff survey was a menopause support group, which is run by staff themselves.
Thank you. That's your free shot, Councillor. So there's a recommendation, which I move from the chair. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Wright. All those in favour of the recommendation?
That's unanimous, Chair. That has been carried.
Thank you very much. We now move on to item 8, which is the disposal report seeking authority to dispose of the former Clifton Hill Leisure Centre site. Here we have 2 recommendations to be resolved and 1 recommendation for £50,000 fund, which we go to council because only council can authorise that, as you tell me that many a time, Dave. So if you'd like to talk to the 3 things.
Thank you, Chair. Just to give you a little bit of background, just to remind you of the process. Exeter City Council sold this site to Exeter City Living for 2.14 million, and that was deemed at the time a significant undervalue against the independent market value we had for best consideration purposes, and we had to seek Secretary of State approval, which was granted to sell the site for housing. The council then bought the site back off Exeter City Living for around £3.03 million. And subsequently, we have been out to tender. We received several bids for the site, of which, by the time the report comes to yourselves, we are recommending approval of the highest bid. We did have 1 bid that was higher, but that's been withdrawn. The bid is for £3.375 million, and that will deliver a 100% affordable rent extra care scheme on the site. Again, we've had to undertake an independent valuation for best consideration purposes, and it's deemed that this is an undervalue of £425,000. And subsequently, because procurement rules have changed and following the exit from the European Union, we have a new subsidy control regime. You'll see attached to the report a subsidy control report, which we will have to send to the government, and it will be formally registered as an undervalued sale. In terms of the proposal, you will also see from the appendices that there's a letter of support from Devon County Council for a much needed extra care scheme in the city. So this is supported by all the relevant parties, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Just to clear one thing up for me on the money side of it. So we sold it to ECL for 1.4. 2.1, yes. We then bought it back for 3.2, did you say? 3.0. Okay, so but then we're now selling it even more than that. If you look at the simple things, I know the value as the valuation. I just wanted to get that straight in my head. Members of the executive, questions and/or contributions. Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Leader. Just a couple of times it was mentioned undervalued sales. I just wanted to kind of recognise that one of the reasons was that we are committed to not allowing student accommodation to be built on this area, and that is the reason is that the undervalued sales were carried out. So it's important that we've listened to the local communities, heard their reservations, and have acted accordingly to ensure that actually what we're going to get is 100% affordable rent, extra care housing. I mean, that is significantly in the ballpark of what we want to see delivered on this. So not only are we not getting students, we're actually getting the sort of use out of the land that I think we would have been happy to do if we could have done it ourselves. We've actually managed to secure a sale that will deliver that outcome, which is fantastic.
Okay, I've got a few people to speak. I've got all your names. Councillor Bizard.
Thank you very much, Leader. I agree very much with what Councillor Wood has just said in terms of the 100% affordable extra care facility, which does seem a very appropriate use of the site. And I note the supporting letter from Devon County Council with that approach. I also note the good practice of the potential buyer preferred homes in terms of their sustainable approach to building, air source heat pumps, solar PV, and so forth. So we look forward to potentially a planning application coming forward to assess at that point. Also note that for the reasons outlined by Councillor Wood in terms of not having student accommodation on council and land, and plenty of other sites where that is available, that we have foregone £425,000 of receipts potentially to council, which I think is the right decision for all of those reasons, but also that the balanced approach to this site, which has been important throughout our conversations over the past few years, maintaining a green space and also delivering homes, so we can do both things. This is a really, really good example of how this council delivers both green space for the community and homes for the community, so really welcome that. Just a quick question in terms of the community and potential opportunity for further engagement. There will obviously be a planning application at some point, so that's an opportunity, but is there any opportunity for engagement? And I'm thinking particularly of the people around Portland Street who are parallel to the site. Is there any opportunity coming forward that we could take up to talk to communities? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Osbashi.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just want to echo my colleagues' points, obviously. Also, I think I read somewhere that there was support from the NHS because one of their biggest problems is getting people back into the community and stopping bed blocking, so this will really help with that. I have to admit that when I first became city councillor, I wasn't really that sure about this kind of housing until I visited Edwards Court, which obviously is the same kind of extra care scheme. And that's an amazing place, the fact that it can help people live independent lives for as long as possible. And just to prove the fact that we do need more of these, they've got a massive waiting list of people who want to use it. This particular area is a perfect location as well. It's very near to the city centre and all its amenities, but also close to the hospital. So I'm fully supportive of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. Yes, a few of the points I was going to make have already been made, particularly in the location. This is it's a beautiful place to live. I used to live really close, and we're right next to Belmont Park, which is absolutely gorgeous. And I really like the fact that this is an opportunity to see this key site that we've all been waiting to be developed, haven't we? We're really looking forward to seeing developed, and such an important use for it. So we've got an undervalue in cash, yes, but we've got a really high value in terms of the outcomes. We've can have some residents who are living in a fantastic place and have those outcomes for them. And also, as Devon County Council mentioned, there's benefits, across the city in terms of, taking the pressure off other facilities. So I'm extremely happy to support this.
Thank you. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Leader. My colleagues have actually said everything that I was going to say, but in a much better way than I can. So I would just add to that my absolute support for this sale. Again, even though it's slightly undervalued, and that's what we're considering, the social value is high, as been alluded to everybody else. So it's almost like a value added, without it being a value added tax. We'll come up with another acronym for it. And the value to the NHS as well is considerable, as Councillor Ashton said. We can see that through our own Edwards Court building and facility that does free up beds, but also, just as importantly, provide really good care. It won't be us running this one as we do with Edwards Court, but we would absolutely trust that it would be run in a similarly good way, which is going to be good for our residents and a very good use of that land. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's nobody else, and just before I call the leaders in, I would like to thank Councillor Moore for sending me an email this morning, which gave us time to look at that as opposed to just presenting it tonight, because at least it's given me time to look at it. And what will happen under 2.2, we've got the delegated authority to the head of commercial assets in consultation with the strategic director and myself. And what we will do is, I intend to take it away to look at the art of the possible. Can we, bear it in mind, there were some issues last time with the police in particular over the safety aspect. Now that all may be different now. I don't know what that looks like. Discussion with the developer, I don't know who it rests with, but at least we will be able to have that discussed. So in other words, if it can be done, I can assure you we would want to do it, okay? And what I intend to do is to advise the ward councillors of the outcomes of any of that, together with this executive, on what arises from that. So if that helps speed things along and deals with the content. I'm coming to the leaders now, and I've got Councillor Moore.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your advance reply in relation to my email about the concerns of residents of Portland Street who have previously had conversations with the council about enabling access along the edge of the site to join up the back alley, which of course would be great benefit for them in terms of bin presentation and enabling active travel and storage of bicycles and such like. So I think it's important to go on the record what we were actually talking about, otherwise it would just be a conversation between myself and I was asked to raise this by ward councillors. So that's really important, and of course it does relate to the terms of the sale, and it's relevant as a planning matter. So on the whole, I think this is a good move in terms of providing affordable housing and extra care. It's really welcome. I just would like to know, in terms of the sale and the capital receipt, is that money going to be used to pay down debt, or is it going to be used towards our taking forward our capital strategy and investing in assets? And just wanted to clarify, just with the paper, 2.3 is a recommendation to council, and the others are a resolution that's being made by the executive. Just wanted to check that.
Resolve that. Okay, thank you. Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Leader. As I say, I don't think there's anybody who would not support this recommendation with the use of this site in the way that's described in the document. I would just like to clarify from my own sake some of the numbers, if we get them right in our sequencing here. That originally the site was valued at just over 3 million. We purchased it at just over 2 million, had to get the Secretary of State permission to do that. That the site is now being sold. The book value at that time was 3 million. The site is now being sold by 3.375. So effectively, if we've got an overspend, the site's actually valued now at 3.8 million. There's a valuation, but we got 3.35. When this matter is settled, could you give us any indication of the impact of those numbers on the settlement of the ECL outstanding monies in relation to this sale? That's my key question.
Okay, well, just on that, I mean, you have had a written reply to most of that, except for that last point, and we can deal with that separately, because I don't think it's a material matter on whether we sell or don't sell this, to be quite honest. So we'll get you that answer back to you about the ECL. And I'm going to answer the point about we don't normally top slice or identify when we sell something that it will be spent on this, and we're going to use that money on that. We don't do that, and we won't be doing it on this occasion necessarily. It's a capital receipt. Yeah, go on, Dave.
It does say in the report. So if we just go through the three questions in order. So in terms of opportunity for engagement with communities, I will relay that to the head of commercial and ask him to include that in negotiations with the developer to develop a program for engagement. They want to do that in any case. As it says in the report, this piece of land has debt associated with it. The council cannot leave outstanding a debt once an asset's been disposed of. So the disposal of this asset triggers the requirement to pay off that debt, which will be paid off by capital receipt, alongside in overall terms with the Mary Archer's sale, to ensure that all the debt associated with ECL is addressed. In terms of the offer, as I said, we bought it for 3.037 million. So that's what it's, the debt is associated with it. This is 3.4 million. There's some other work in progress relating to Mary Archers and work that was undertaken on that, which is also in adverts, which will need to be addressed. But in overall terms, the two capital receipts together is far in excess of the outstanding debt in relation to Exeter City Living. And as members will recall, at the end of the financial year, when ECO was wound down last year, we actually addressed the debt, part of the debt that didn't relate to this asset. So therefore, the majority of the Mary Archers capital receipt, when received, is available to use on future capital receipts. In terms of the 3.8 million, slightly less than the outstanding debt, but the outstanding debt doesn't just relate to Clifton Hill, it does relate to the other work in progress that we acquired. I would just say for members, because you probably won't remember this, I didn't until I read the original report, just to note that the market value now is 3.8 million. When we sold it to ECL, the best consideration value was over £7 million. So hence why we needed to go to the Secretary of State for significant undervalue. So far more in line with the market value at this stage.
Okay, thank you. But if somebody is worried about us not getting 3.8, there are options for us to get 3.8 and a bit more, isn't there? By breaking our promise not to build student accommodation. So that would be my concern. If people are thinking that we're not getting best value for the council, that would be the consequence of doing something else. I think and this was raised, that's very important if somebody is saying, or if other people read it, oh, well, you're selling this at a loss, we're doing it for a reason. So anyway, there you are. There's the the two resolved matters. Do you want me to deal these separately, because they're all three together, because one goes to council?
Take all three together.
Okay, thank you.
As resolved, recommendation.
I'll move them. Can I have a second? All those in favour?
Unanimous, Chair. Those have been carried.
Thank you. The next executive is the 19th of June, but have we got a special one in between? That's the 19th of June. And whilst we're on a birthday, we're going to set the executive calendar to birthdays. It's 2 days after my birthday. Just thought I'd let everybody know. Thank you very much, everybody.